Dad, when is Uncle Gerald coming back? I stopped mid-chew. Fork froze halfway to my mouth. My boy, Corey, just kept eating like it was the most normal question in the world. Uncle who? I asked, keeping my voice steady. Uncle Gerald, he said. He came over last Wednesday when you were at work. He played Madden with me. Said he used to be real good back in the day. I nodded slowly. That's so? Corey nodded. Yeah, he's funny. He even brought those sour candy ropes I like. I looked across the table at Lauren, my wife of 16 years, but she was already reaching for her glass like she didn't hear a thing. He a friend of yours? I asked her, calm as a Sunday morning. She shrugged. Gerald's someone from the neighborhood. He just dropped by to say hi. I didn't think it was a big deal. I didn't say anything. I just looked back at my plate and finished dinner like nothing happened. But inside, something twisted. It wasn't the name that got me. I didn't know any Gerald. Not a coworker, not a cousin. What got me was the ease, the casual way my son mentioned him. Like it had happened before. Like this Gerald fella belonged. That night, after dishes were done and Corey was brushing his teeth, I sat in the living room and stared at the TV without really watching it. Lauren came in a little later, sat on the couch with her phone like usual. Scrolling, texting, fake laughing at whatever she was looking at. I watched her for a moment. Same woman I married. Same tired jokes. Same perfume. But suddenly, she didn't feel the same. You know a lot of folks I don't know, I said after a while, I still on the screen. She looked up. What's that supposed to mean? I shook my head. Just saying. Seem like folks drop by when I'm not around. She narrowed her eyes a little. Are you jealous now? Not jealous, I said. Just observant. She laughed, short and sharp. Walter, I'm not cheating on you. Gerald came by. We talked a little. That's all. Don't get all weird about it. I nodded once. All right. We didn't talk much the rest of the night. She went to bed first. I stayed up late, sitting at the kitchen table with an old notebook I kept in the drawer. Page 1. Gerald. Wednesday. Said hi. Brought candy. Played Madden. I wasn't mad yet. Not really. I'd been with this woman long enough to know when something wasn't right, but I also knew when I didn't have the full story. But I'd seen enough changes lately. Longer showers. More makeup, even just to run to the store. Her phone always in her hand, always flipped face down. And the way she looked at me, or didn't, like she was always halfway out the door. I didn't want to believe anything. I wasn't looking for a reason to leave. I just wanted to know if I was being made a fool of in my own home. So I started writing things down. Not big things. Just times. Dates. What she said. What Corey let slip. I wasn't going to yell. Wasn't going to flip the table or throw a fit. I'm a grown man. And grown men handle things different. Especially when they've got friends who know the law. Because I wasn't just any security guard. I worked the night desk at Benson and Hartley, the biggest law firm in the county. And I'd been there 12 years. Which meant when I was ready to act, I'd know exactly how to do it. Quiet, clean, and permanent. The next morning, everything looked the same. Coffee brewing. Corey eating cereal. Lauren humming in the kitchen like she didn't drop a bomb the night before. You'd think it was just another day in a regular household. But for me, something had shifted. Once a man starts paying attention, he sees more than he wants to. I took a sip of coffee and looked at her. Hair done. Full face of makeup. It was 7:15 a.m. You going somewhere today? I asked. She didn't even blink. Just the store. I nodded. Fancy for grocery shopping. She smiled like I was joking. You want me going out looking a mess? Fair enough. But Lauren hadn't worn lipstick to the store in years. After they both left, her to shop, Corey to school, I sat at the kitchen table with my notebook again. Thursday. Hair curled. Lipstick. Store. A pattern doesn't start with one line. It starts with 3 or 4. So I waited. Next few days? Same routine. She left early. Came back around noon. Always looked refreshed. Sometimes with bags, sometimes without. And Corey, bless that boy, kept dropping little breadcrumbs. Uncle Gerald says he used to play basketball at the Y down on Jefferson. Uncle Gerald showed me how to beat the boss in my game. He's cool. You should have seen how fast Uncle Gerald's car is. And every time, I just smiled and said, that's so? I never asked Lauren anything directly. Didn't accuse, didn't shout. I let her think I was just tired from work. Same old Walter. But at night, after she slept, I started checking things. Phone bills. Our shared bank account. Mileage on her car. She'd filled up twice last week, but the grocery store was only 10 minutes away. Something didn't add up. Then came the perfume. It was subtle at first. A scent I didn't recognize. Not what she usually wore. Something sweeter, newer. I asked her about it. "Oh, it's just a sample I got," she said. "Do you like it?" I shrugged. "It's different." That weekend, I asked her if she wanted to go out. Dinner. Just us. It had been a while. She hesitated, then smiled. "Sure. That sounds nice." But when Saturday night came, she had a headache. "Maybe next weekend." I sat in the living room while she went upstairs to lie down, and a text buzzed on her phone she'd left on the armrest. I didn't pick it up. Didn't need to. The preview said enough. "Gerald, missin' you already." That was the first time I felt real heat in my chest. Not rage, something colder. Focused. She didn't even have the sense to hide it anymore. The next night at work, I brought the conversation up with Mr. Harris, one of the senior partners. He's the kind of man that's been through 3 divorces and can smell trouble before it rings the doorbell. I was pouring him a cup of late-night coffee when he looked at me and said, "You all right, Walt? You look like a man chewing glass." I paused. Then I said, "Can I ask you something off the record?" He set his file down. "Shoot. If a man's wife starts lying to him, and he doesn't want to make a scene, what's the right way to handle it?" He leaned back, looked at me, then said, "You got proof?" "Not yet." "Then get it." Quietly. No yelling, no accusations. Just facts. Truth is your best friend in court. He sipped his coffee. "And Walt, when you get it, bring it to me first. I don't like cheaters." I nodded. That night, I went home with a plan. I wasn't just suspicious anymore. I was gathering evidence. And when the time came, I'd make sure Gerald and Lauren both learned a hard lesson. You don't play games in a man's house and expect to win. The first thing I noticed that morning was the smell. It hit me when I walked into the bedroom to grab my phone charger. Lauren had just left to run errands, and the room still carried that heavy, sweet scent, not her usual kind. This was deeper, almost musky. I stood there for a minute, breathing it in. Then I opened the window. She never used to wear that perfume around me, probably because it wasn't meant for me. I kept my routine the same. I still cooked breakfast on Sunday, still folded my uniforms for the week, still joked with Corey about his messy backpack. On the outside, I was the same man I'd always been. But inside, I was watching everything. That night, while Lauren was in the shower, her phone buzzed again. She'd started locking it recently, but this time she left it on the bathroom sink. I didn't touch it. Didn't need to. I just glanced at the screen. "Gerald, I can still smell you on my shirt." I didn't blink. I walked out of the room and wrote it down in my notebook. Time, date, message. The next few days, I took a different approach. When I left for work, I doubled back after 10 minutes and parked a block away. I watched the house. First day, nothing. Second day, a dark blue Nissan pulled into the driveway around 9:15 a.m. A tall man got out. I couldn't see his face, but I saw him knock, and I saw Lauren open the door in one of those long t-shirts she never wore around me anymore. I watched him go inside. He stayed for 2 hours. When he left, she didn't walk him out. He just came out alone, head down, like he was sneaking off. That told me everything I needed to know. That night, I didn't bring it up. I made spaghetti, set the table, and we all ate like nothing was wrong. Until I found the sock. It was Wednesday. Corey had dropped juice under the couch, and when I reached under to clean it up, I pulled out a black athletic sock. Too big to be mine. And I don't wear Nike. I held it up. "This yours?" I asked Corey. He shook his head. "Nope. I only wear white ones." Lauren was folding laundry in the kitchen. She didn't even turn around. Just said, "Must be one of Corey's old ones." "He just said it's not his," I said, still holding it. She turned slowly. "Well, maybe it's yours." "I don't know, Walter. It's just a sock." I looked at it one more time, then tossed it in the trash. "Yeah, just a sock." Later that night, I wrote it all down. Perfume. Message. Blue Nissan. Sock. And then I added one more line. "Gerald's getting sloppy. She's getting comfortable. Good." Friday morning, I took a thermos of coffee and a folder and went into Mr. Harris's office during the slow hour before lunch. He raised a brow when he saw me. "That folder for me?" "Yes, sir." He opened it, screenshots, notes, photos of the car, timestamps. He looked through it for 5 minutes without speaking. Then he looked up. "Walt, this is solid." I nodded. "You think it's enough? For divorce?" "Oh yeah. And with this? You might not even owe her a nickel." He leaned forward. "Want my help? I want it done clean." I don't want drama. Just the truth. Mr. Harris smiled. You're my kind of client. He stood, pulled out a legal pad, and started making a list. Here's what we'll do next. And just like that, the game changed. No yelling, no accusations. Just slow, careful steps. And the first move was already made. Sunday evening rolled around quiet as usual. I grilled some chicken out back. Corey played basketball in the driveway, and Lauren was inside texting, like always lately. But that night, I decided to shake the routine a little. We were eating at the table, TV off, just the three of us. So, I said casually, cutting into my food, this Gerald guy, you ever gonna introduce me? Lauren's fork stopped midair. What? Gerald? I repeated. You know, the man who's been hanging out with my son while I'm at work. She chuckled, a light, forced laugh. Walter, come on. He's just a friend. Someone I've known for a while. It's nothing. Corey added helpfully, he's cool, Dad. He says you work hard and that's why you can't play games like him. I looked over at Lauren. So he's been here more than once? She shifted in her seat. A couple times, sure. He was helping me with some home stuff. Small repairs. You know, I don't know how to fix anything. I just nodded. Right. Of course. I didn't say another word the rest of dinner. But in my notebook later that night, I wrote, he's just a friend. 7:12 p.m. lies starting to show. On Monday, I had a quiet conversation with one of the junior attorneys, Leah Thompson. She was newer, maybe 5 years out of law school, but sharp. Real sharp. She handled a lot of the family law cases. She caught me by the break room pouring coffee and said, heard you and Mr. Harris talked Friday. You okay? I shrugged. Let's just say my house ain't as solid as I thought. She leaned against the counter. Well, if it makes you feel better, they rarely are. You want a clean break? I looked at her. I want to walk away with my son, my house, and my peace. She can keep her perfume and her lies. Leah smiled. Then you're talking to the right people. By Tuesday, the team was unofficially in motion. Nothing filed yet. Just quiet prep. They told me what to keep collecting. Screenshots, timestamps, car activity. They coached me on how to act calm, cool, steady. The hardest part was pretending I didn't know a thing. That Wednesday, Lauren left the house around 9 a.m., just like clockwork. Said she was meeting her cousin for brunch. I waited 20 minutes, then drove to the Walgreens near our neighborhood. Parked in the back. Her car wasn't at the brunch spot. It was at a small extended-stay motel off Route 19. Same blue Nissan parked 2 spots over. I didn't approach. Just took 2 photos, one of her car, one of the Nissan. Later, I showed them to Leah. She flipped through them and nodded. Perfect. You just bought yourself a better custody case. I kept up appearances at home. That night, Lauren asked, you okay? You've been quiet lately. I smiled. Just tired, is all. She kissed me on the cheek and went upstairs. And I sat in the kitchen with my tea, thinking. You have no idea. I wasn't broken. Not even close. I was building something behind the scenes, piece by piece. And the last thing I wrote that night in my notebook was this. Next move is mine. I waited until Friday night to speak with Mr. Harris again. End of the week, office was quiet. Just a few attorneys finishing up paperwork, interns gone, and me at the front desk sipping stale coffee. He came out of his office in his usual navy blazer, saw me sitting there with my folder, and paused. You ready? He asked. I nodded. If you've got a minute. He waved me in. For you? Always. I stepped inside, shut the door behind me, and sat across from him. The man had 3 ex-wives and a pension that could buy half the block, but he'd always treated me like an equal. I opened the folder. Inside, printed texts, photos, bank statements, and a short timeline I'd put together. Nothing fancy. Just facts. He looked it over for about 5 minutes. Didn't say a word. Just read. Then he leaned back in his chair and whistled. Walt, he said, this ain't just a bad marriage. This is planned disrespect. I nodded. That's how it feels. You got a solid case. Adultery, financial misconduct, possibly even exposing the child to inappropriate individuals. I raised a brow. Wait, what's that last part? He tapped the photo of Gerald's car parked at the motel. You got proof this man's been in your house. Around your son. Possibly overnight. You think a judge is gonna like that? Not a chance. I sat back, exhaled slow. So what's next? Mr. Harris grinned. Next? We set the trap. He started scribbling notes. You don't confront her. You don't change your routine. You keep being good. Walter, tired, steady, distracted. I smiled. That part ain't hard. He chuckled. Right. Meanwhile, we get the paperwork started. Quietly. We file for divorce and custody, but we don't serve it yet. Let her think you're still clueless. And when do we move? When she's the most confident, he said, tapping the desk. When she thinks she's got it all under control. I nodded slowly. That night, back at home, Lauren was extra cheerful. She made tacos, cracked open a bottle of wine, even put on that old record I liked. Everything okay with you lately? She asked. You seem more relaxed. Just tired, I said again. She leaned over and kissed my cheek. You're a good man. I smiled at her. Yeah, I am. Next morning, I went into the office early. Leah was already there, sipping iced coffee with her headphones in. When she saw me, she smiled and pulled out a file. We drafted everything. Custody petition, property division, financial statements. Just need your signature. I flipped through each page carefully. It was all laid out. Fair on paper, but fair didn't mean equal. House stays with me. Corey stays with me. No alimony. She could take her car and whatever clothes she could carry. I signed every page. Leah tucked it back into the folder. We'll file Monday. Give it 48 hours, and you'll get a court date. Then we serve her. I stood up, shook her hand. Thanks, Leah. She gave me a serious look. Walt? I don't like cheaters either. That weekend, I went back to pretending. We grilled burgers. Watched a movie with Corey. Lauren scrolled her phone all night and smiled when she thought I wasn't looking. Sunday evening, she whispered into her phone on the back porch. I heard her laugh, the one I hadn't heard in years. The one that used to be mine. But I didn't flinch. I just added another note in my book. Paperwork's in. Time's ticking. And for the first time in weeks, I slept like a baby. By Monday morning, the paperwork was filed. Leah texted me from the office, real short. All set. Quiet until we're ready to serve. I nodded at my phone like she could see me. Then I went back to drinking my coffee and flipping through the morning news like nothing had changed. But everything had. That night, when Lauren left to meet Keisha for dinner, I opened the laptop she always kept closed. I didn't snoop, not at first. I just wanted to see if I'd been wrong. Turns out I wasn't. She left her email open. Rookie move. First message was from Gerald. Missed you all weekend. Felt weird not waking up next to you. Still thinking about that thing you said, about after the divorce. I leaned back in my chair and let that sink in. So she wasn't just messing around. She was planning to leave me. Start over with him. That's fine. But what she didn't know was I'd already beat her to it. I copied the email and pasted it into a folder I created on my own flash drive. The name of the folder? The Truth. Next, I checked her search history. How long does divorce take if both agree? Tips for getting full custody. Can I keep the house if my husband moves out? I didn't get mad. I didn't even feel sad. It actually made things easier. After she got back that night, smelling like vanilla and red wine, I offered to make her some tea. Sat across from her in the kitchen, small smile on my face. She smiled back, sweet as pie. You're being so nice lately. Just feeling grateful, I said. And I was. Grateful she kept underestimating me. Tuesday, I picked Corey up from school and took him to the park like always. We shot hoops, talked about nothing, laughed a little. Then, while we sat on the bench eating ice cream, I said, Hey buddy, I wanted to ask you something. He looked up, wide-eyed. What's up? When Gerald comes over, what do you guys usually do? Corey shrugged. Just play games, mostly. One time he made grilled cheese, but it was kinda burned. I smiled. You like him? He hesitated. I guess. He's funny. But he's not like you. I ruffled his hair. Thanks, pal. Is Mom mad at you? He asked suddenly. I blinked. Why do you ask that? She talks kinda different when you're not around. Like she's always waiting for you to leave. I nodded slowly. Thanks for telling me. And hey, no matter what happens, I'm always here. You and me, right? He smiled. Right. Later that night, I added the burned grilled cheese story to my notes. Sounded dumb, sure. But it proved he'd been alone in the house with my son. That mattered in court. Everything mattered now. On Thursday, I took the flash drive to Leah at the office. This is everything, I told her. Emails, screenshots, browser history. Even what my son told me. She took it and smiled. You're doing great, Walter. I nodded. Let me know when it's time. She looked at her calendar. Serving days set for next Friday morning. We'll get her while she's home. And just like that, the countdown started. That weekend, Lauren was all affection again. Like she felt something coming, but didn't know what. "Let's go to that diner you like," she said Saturday morning. "Haven't done that in a while." So we did. We sat in the booth. She reached for my hand across the table. I gave it to her. She looked me in the eyes. "I know we've had a rough patch, but I think we're coming through it." I nodded slowly. "Sure feels like it." But inside, I was already gone, and I had a folder called The Truth to back me up. The week before serving day, I played the role so well I could have won an award. I was the loving husband again. I helped fold laundry, offered to pick up groceries, even watched one of those boring reality shows she liked just to keep the peace. Lauren bought it all. Hook, line, and sinker. One night she leaned her head on my shoulder and said, "I'm glad we're getting back to normal." I kissed her on the forehead. "Me too." Meanwhile, Leah and Mr. Harris were finalizing everything. I checked in once, maybe twice, but mostly stayed quiet. That was the key. Let her feel like everything's calm right before the storm. The real surprise came on Wednesday, 2 days before we planned to serve her. I came home from work and found her in the kitchen with a bottle of wine open and 2 glasses poured. She looked up with that smile I hadn't seen in years. I was thinking we could talk. I set down my bag. "About what?" She slid a manila envelope across the table. "I think it's time we separate. Peacefully." I opened it. Divorce papers. Drafted by some paralegal she must have found online. Sloppy. Rushed. But the intent was clear. She wanted the house, full custody of Corey, and spousal support. I read it over, nodded slowly, and asked, "What brought this on?" She shrugged like she'd just picked a new wallpaper. "We've been going in different directions. You work too much. I just think we'd both be happier apart." I looked her dead in the eyes and asked, "Gerald help you decide that?" The smile faded just a little. "Don't make this ugly, Walter." I held her gaze. "I'm not. But you might want to hold off on filing that." She crossed her arms. "Why?" I walked to the fridge, grabbed myself a soda, and said, "Because mine's already in motion. Comes with affidavits, timestamps, custody requests, and a full team of lawyers." Her face went white. "What?" "I work in a law firm, Lauren," I said quietly. "Did you think I wouldn't use the resources?" She stood up. "You were spying on me?" "No," I said, calm as ever. "I was watching my back. Something you should have considered before bringing a stranger into my home." She stared at me for a long second, then grabbed her phone and stormed upstairs. I didn't follow. I just sat down at the table, picked up one of those wine glasses, and took a sip. Not bad. The next day, she acted like nothing happened. Made pancakes. Asked if I needed anything washed. The whole time, I knew her head was spinning. She didn't know what was coming. Not really. She'd expected me to be broken, maybe even beg. She thought she'd control the timing, the terms, and the outcome. She had no idea she'd already lost. Friday morning came bright and quiet. Leah and the server arrived right at 9:30 a.m. I waited outside on the porch drinking coffee. Lauren was in the kitchen, still in her robe. When the knock came, she opened the door herself. The look on her face when she read the papers? Priceless. I didn't say a word. Just leaned back in the patio chair and sipped my coffee. Leah nodded to me on her way out. "We'll see you in court, Mrs. Johnson." Lauren turned to me, papers trembling in her hands. "You planned this behind my back?" I smiled gently. "You planned yours first. I just finished the job." She stood there frozen. Then she went upstairs and shut the door behind her. Didn't even slam it. Later that day, Corey and I went for ice cream. He didn't know all the details, but he knew something was changing. "You okay, Dad?" I looked at him and smiled. "I will be." Court was set for Wednesday morning. Family court, clean, quiet, no big drama unless somebody brought it with them. I didn't sleep much the night before, but not from nerves. I just kept running through the plan in my head, making sure every piece was where it needed to be. Leah met me outside the courthouse. Sharp gray suit, briefcase in one hand, coffee in the other. Cool as ice. "You ready, Walter?" I nodded. "I've been ready." Lauren pulled up 5 minutes later. She was dressed like she was going to brunch, light pink dress, heels, makeup done like she hadn't been served divorce papers 4 days ago. Gerald wasn't with her, but I could tell by the spring in her step, she still thought she had some kind of upper hand. She didn't even look at me at first. Just smiled at Leah like she was the help. "You must be Walter's assistant." Leah smiled back, sharp and professional. "Actually, I'm his attorney." Lauren's face twitched for half a second. Then she turned and walked ahead, head high like nothing had rattled her. We sat in that courtroom for about 15 minutes before the judge came in. Old white guy, thick glasses, tired eyes. You could tell he'd seen enough nonsense in his years. He looked over the case file, glanced at both of us, and said, "Let's get to it." Lauren's lawyer was some guy she must have hired last minute. Couldn't have been older than 30. He started talking about how Lauren deserved the house, how she was the primary caregiver, how I was emotionally distant and worked too much. I sat there quiet, not blinking. Then Leah stood. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't pace the room. She just laid it all out. The emails, the texts, the bank records showing money missing from our joint account, the statements from Corey about Gerald being in the house, the photos of her car at the motel, the search history about custody and hiding assets. She didn't make it ugly. She made it undeniable. And when she finished, she handed the flash drive labeled "The Truth" to the judge. He looked at Lauren, then at her lawyer, who suddenly had nothing to say. Lauren finally spoke. "This is all twisted. He's making me out to be a villain." The judge raised a hand. "Mrs. Johnson, I'm looking at your own words. You don't need help looking bad. You did that yourself." Silence. He went through the terms one by one. Full custody to me. The house stays with me. No alimony. She could take her car and whatever personal items she wanted, clothes, makeup, jewelry. Nothing else. Lauren stared at the table, lips pressed tight. When court adjourned, she didn't move for a moment. Just sat there like she was waiting for someone to say it was all a mistake. But it wasn't. She stood up slow, turned to me, and said, "You really think this is fair?" I looked her in the eyes. Fair left when Gerald walked through my door. She opened her mouth like she wanted to say something, then stopped. Leah leaned toward her and said quietly, "You should be glad we didn't push for damages." Lauren walked out without another word. As we stepped outside, Leah clapped a hand on my back. "You did good." "Thanks," I said. "Now what?" "Now," she said, "you go home and enjoy the peace." And that's exactly what I planned to do. The courthouse steps felt different coming down than they did going up. I wasn't smiling, wasn't celebrating, but I felt something better than either peace. Lauren was already gone by the time I got to the parking lot. Drove off fast, tires chirping like she was trying to outrun the truth. But you can't outrun the truth. You sit in it. And she was about to be neck-deep. The ruling was official. Final. Stamped and signed by the judge before noon. Full physical and legal custody of Corey to me. The house stayed mine. No spousal support. She could take her car, whatever was in her closet, and that was it. All her plans with Gerald? Gone. She didn't get the house she probably promised him. Didn't get monthly checks to fund their little love story. Didn't even get to play the victim. She got exactly what she deserved. Nothing. By the time I picked Corey up from school, he was all smiles. "You look happy," he said, climbing in the truck. I smiled back. "Feels like a new chapter." He buckled in, then asked, "Is Mom mad at you?" I paused. "No. I think she's just realizing a few things." He nodded. "Are we going to stay in the house?" "Yup. And I still get my room, right?" "You sure do." He grinned and turned up the radio. Kid bounced back faster than I expected. Maybe deep down, he knew what was going on better than I gave him credit for. When we got home, I made us both burgers on the grill. The air felt lighter, quieter, like the house had been holding its breath and finally exhaled. Lauren came by 3 days later to pick up her things. She didn't ring the bell. She texted, "I'm outside." I walked to the door, opened it. She stood on the porch, eyes hidden behind big sunglasses. Dressed casual, sweats and sneakers, no makeup, no perfume. She looked tired. Smaller, somehow. I didn't say anything. Just stepped aside so she could walk in. "I'll be quick," she mumbled. I nodded. She walked upstairs, grabbed a few bags, made a couple trips. Took some shoes, a drawer full of hair stuff, some old jewelry. Nothing important. Gerald didn't show. She looked around once, maybe expecting me to stop her or ask her something. I didn't. When she came down with the last bag, she stood near the door and finally spoke. "This isn't how I thought things would go." I met her eyes. "That's 'cause you thought I'd stay quiet forever." She didn't respond. "I never wanted this, Lauren," I said. "But you made choices. I just followed through." She looked away. "I never meant to hurt Corey. He's fine," I said. "He's with the parent who didn't lie to his face." That one landed. She flinched a little, then nodded. She turned toward the door, hand on the knob. "Walter." "I don't know what's going to happen now." "Neither do I said. "But I know what's not going to happen. I'm not going to let you back in." She hesitated, like she wanted to say something else. Then she walked out and shut the door behind her. I stood there a moment, then turned the lock. Done. Finished. No second chances. That night, I sat out back in my old chair with a cold drink and watched the sun go down over the fence. Corey was inside playing games. The house was ours now, not just by law, but in truth. No more lies. No more perfume that didn't belong. No more locked phones or late errands. Just quiet. Just freedom. And that was worth every damn page of paperwork. 2 months passed. Quiet ones. No more sudden trips. No more strange men in my house. No more pretending everything was okay when it wasn't. Just me and Corey, finding our rhythm again. He adjusted fast. Kids are like that when they know they're safe. We started going fishing on Saturdays. He helped mow the lawn, even if he left strips. I didn't care. I let him pick the music in the truck, even when it was awful. And at night, we sat on the porch with popsicles, just talking. It was simple. It was real. Meanwhile, Lauren, well, word got around. Turns out Gerald didn't stick around too long once she told him she lost the house, the money, and the kid. Surprise, surprise. The same guy who snuck through my front door didn't want to build a life with her in a studio apartment with a used mattress and no washer. She tried texting me once. Just one message. I didn't think you had this in you. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. I'd already said everything I had to say in court. Then, a few weeks later, I saw her at the grocery store. Alone. Basket half full, eyes tired, no shine left in her walk. She spotted me in the produce aisle, froze, then pretended to check onions. I just kept walking. You don't speak to ghosts. And that's what she was now, just a shadow of a bad decision. Mr. Harris called me into his office not long after. Just wanted to say, he said, leaning back with his coffee, you handled this better than half the lawyers I've seen. I chuckled. Guess I had good coaches. Leah swung by too. She was smiling. You know you're the talk of the office, right? I figured, I said. Was it the quiet revenge or the clean win? Both, she said. You set a standard. They offered to throw me a retirement party, said I'd earned it. But I wasn't ready to retire. I liked working. I liked staying sharp. And I liked knowing I'd come through hell and didn't let it change who I was. I didn't scream. I didn't hit. I didn't beg. I planned. And when the time came, I moved with precision. Back at home, Corey started calling Sunday nights our man dinners. Just the two of us. Burgers. Fries. Root beer. He raised his cup last week and said, to peace. I clinked mine against his. To peace. You know, I used to think revenge meant making someone hurt the way they hurt you. But now I know better. Revenge is walking through your own front door and feeling peace in your chest. It's knowing your son respects you. It's sipping your morning coffee with the blinds open, not hiding from anything. It's having your name on the deed, your kid's shoes at the door, and your conscience clear. She thought she had it all figured out. She thought I'd just take it. But I paid attention. And in the end, she got nothing. And I got everything that mattered.